After nearly 4 weeks, it's time to share my review of the iPhone 14 Pro Max and compare with last year's iPhone 13 Pro Max. Hey everyone, Ricky here from Ricky's Tech Talk. So let's begin with what you're staring at right now, and that is the display. In some aspects, very much the same specs as last year. Both models have a Super Retina XDR display. Both have a ProMotion technology with adaptive refresh rate up to 120Hz. Both offer a HDR display, 2:1 contrast ratio, and wide color P3 displays. And then, very different in other ways, introducing the Dynamic Island. So the Dynamic Island is a mixture of hardware and software working together to make a pill-shaped cutout be more attractive than what it actually is. And they do this by little tricks that it makes it essential features of the new iPhone, and it's one of the big selling features of this new iPhone. Yes, we've lost that top notch now that you see in the iPhone 13 Pro series or the iPhone 13 series. The Dynamic Island really comes to its own in the key applications, and third-party apps are coming along. So when you receive a call, unlocking your iPhone, music control using a timer, AirDrop and connecting AirPods or charging, you'll really see the Dynamic Island coming to life, and little subtle changes will happen. You can simply hold down to see a bigger option as well, especially when listening to music. A new feature that finally did come to the iPhone 14 series is the always on display. I know before Android fans will say we've had it for many years. Well, with using Android along with iPhones, I can say it's nice to finally have it. Trying to stop looking at my phone so much, so I don't have my phone in my work area. I try to leave it away from me so I'm not distracted. It's nice to see what notifications I have at a glance, and if I have to, I can quickly jump in and take action on them without tapping to wake my display, which I had to do on the iPhone 13 series. So with the introduction of the Dynamic Island, this changes the resolution of the new iPhone 2. So both models use a 6.7-inch diagonal all-screen OLED display. However, with the Dynamic Island, the resolution has changed. So now it's 2796 by 1290, and that gives us a pixel density of 460 pixels per inch, and its peak brightness has changed slightly as well. It's 1600 now and 2000 nits peak brightness outdoors. And then with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, you've got a resolution of 2778 by 1284. That'll give you a pixel density of 458, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max has a 1200 nits peak brightness. Moving on to audio, so both of these models offer spatial audio feedback. Both support Dolby Atmos. So I feel the iPhone 14 offers a little higher quality sound compared to the iPhone 13 series, and I've recorded a movie trailer, or I've recorded being out in the NFL when it was here in London, and let me know what you think as well while you're watching this video. In the Dynamic Island, you've got your true depth camera, so it's a 12 megapixel f1.9, it's a wide, it has phase detection, autofocus, offers HDR, cinematic mode at 4K at 24 or 30 frames. Both models offer video recording at 4K at 24, 25, 30 or 60 frames per second and 1080p as well. Both have a gyro EIS. Looking at the iPhone 13 Pro Max true depth camera, it's a 12 megapixel, it's an f2.2, so it's slightly better on the iPhone 14 series. Again, it's a wide, and you only have the option of cinematic mode at 1080p at 30 frames per second. And of course, both models have the Face ID unlocking system built in for extra security. If you're like me and always want to secure the latest update and new smartphone as soon as it releases, make sure to check out today's sponsor.
O2 are launching SwitchUp. This allows their customers to have the freedom to change their current phone for a new phone whenever they like and as many times as they like. O2 SwitchUp is automatically included in new O2 Plus plans at no extra cost, or customers have the choice to add it to a new custom plan as a bolt-on for just $3.99 a month by simply heading to an O2 store to trade in their device. It doesn't matter how long's left on your current contract, switching is easier than ever. The original handset will be checked to make sure it meets grading criteria before switch up, and a new handset and new Plus plan or custom plan will be activated to complete the switch. The handset handed in by the customer will be refurbished and sold like new for someone else to enjoy.
So now we've spoke about the front cameras, let's look at the rear cameras. On the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a 65% larger sensor than the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And that's because its main sensor now is 48 megapixels in size. It's an f1.8, it's wide, and it has a dual pixel phase detection autofocus and a sensor shift OIS, so optical image stabilization. Both models have the 12 megapixel f2.8 telephoto lens with phase detection autofocus, OIS, and and 3 times optical zoom. On the iPhone 14 Pro Max, you've got a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide with 120 degrees field of view. And also with this model, you have a time of flight 3D LiDAR scanner depth, so it'll get your depth effect, which you do get on the iPhone 13 series as well. When it comes to video recording, some are the same, some are different. So 4K up to 60 frames per second on both models, 1080p up to 240 frames per second on both models. Both offer HDR, Dolby Vision, and up to 60 frames for that option. And then when it comes to cinematic mode now, you've got 4K on the iPhone 14 Pro series, and also you've got the new action mode, so new feature to reduce when capturing fast-paced action, or say you're running along and you want to capture your children playing football, or you want to capture that sport action event without sort of a stutter or a judder. That's an option for you, and I have tried it out and I will be showing that as we're going along. So shifting over to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, we've got 12 megapixel f1.5 wide, and that has phase detection and sensor shift OIS. And then with their other sensor, the slight difference from the iPhone 14 Pro series is the 12 megapixel f1.8 ultra wide. So the new iPhone 14 series offers a little bit more options there. And again, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the cinematic mode is at 1080p at 30 frames per second. So it's a little bit limited in the previous generation. Both models are using Apple's own chipset. So we've got the A16 Bionic chipset with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And with the iPhone 13, you've got the A15 Bionic chipset. Both models have a 6-core CPU with 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. Both models have a 5-core GPU, and both models have a 16-core neural engine, and both use 6 gigabytes of RAM. So the difference here is the new chipset, which is linked in with the new software and hardware from Apple, and it has slight increases in power and performance. With the iPhone 14 series, when it comes to battery life, and I would say this is the biggest update that I have had, it seems to just last a lot longer, even with the always on display. But with the new iPhone 14 Pro Max, you've got 4,323 mAh battery. Both models can do 50% charge in 30 minutes with a 20-watt adapter, which is sold separately. And then with MagSafe wireless charging, you can get 15 watts of charging and 7.5 watts of charging via Qi wireless charger. And with the iPhone 14 Pro Max, you'll get 29 hours of video playback. With the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the battery seems to be a little bit higher. I'm not too sure if the spec sheets are correct, but that's what I've researched and that's what I found. So with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, you've got 4,352 mAh battery. Again, the same options when it comes to charging, and you'll get 28 hours of video playback. Both of these devices are stunning when it comes to out of a case and actually in your hand. Yes, you may be terrified because of the new costing here in the UK, but they do look absolutely gorgeous in hand. So both have a ceramic shield front glass, which is made by Corning, and a back glass as well. And then around the outer edge, you'll get a surgical grade stainless steel in a range of colours that match your colour in different hues and temperatures. So the big flagship colour for this year was the deep purple, and I chose to go for the space black. I wanted something a little different. It looks really nice, really subtle, and it hides the fingerprints quite well actually compared to my Sierra Blue option for my iPhone 13 Pro Max. So both devices have the option for water resistance of depth of 6 meters up to 30 minutes, so really handy if you drop it in the ocean or drop it in the bath. So with iOS 16, I created a video going through the features and the options I really like, and it blends a mixture of features that were needed and also features that were new to me. So medication, I take medication, it's nice to get reminders, and one of the new things that they brought in was crash detection. So with the iPhone 14 series, if a crash is detected, it will notify the emergency services for you, and they will let you know where you are. So the phone will identify where you are, get the support you're needed. Both models, you've got emergency SOS as well available. So just taking a little look at measurements, so the weight for the iPhone 14 Pro Max is 240 grams compared to 238 grams on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. When it comes to depth, the thickness of your device, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is about 7.85 millimeters and the 13 Pro Max is 7.68 millimeters, so a little bit of a difference there. So let's talk about some of my likes and dislikes. There's only a couple of dislikes that I want to mention. So I don't think these devices should start at 128GB version. One, because this is not enough storage, and also it limits you to record ProRes material. So I have a 128GB version here, and I did this because of my second option, and that's the cost of the new iPhone. So with the new iPhone here in the UK going up about £150 because of the strength of the dollar to the pound ratio at the moment, it means the iPhones are a lot more expensive compared to last year. So 1,200 is actually quite a large cost at the time where we're worrying about our bills, money coming in, and also worrying about large expenses such as this. One of the other little dislikes I don't like is the eSIM. In the US, the iPhone 14 series has an eSIM now, so it has a digital SIM card and there's no physical SIM card to go into your device. This is okay if you have one plan or you don't switch your device that often. For myself, I'm forever switching devices. Every week a new device comes in. I'm switching between Apple, I'm switching to Android, so it's a mixture of devices, a mixture of different softwares, and I just want to make sure it works easily to switch plans, switch SIM cards or your data tariffs without an issue. So that's the only hope, that it's made simple and easy. And I haven't chose to do it here in the UK, but I think we should be prepared that eSIM is going to come to Europe and the UK very soon. And as I mentioned, the cost of the device is an issue for some people. So for myself, I'm very lucky, thanks to the support from you guys watching this video, I'm able to buy these devices and test them out. It is an issue. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is not available from Apple anymore, so you have to go to a third-party retailer. So like Amazon UK, it's £1,000, and there will be a link in the description. The iPhone 14 Pro Max starting at £1,199. So what are your thoughts? Let me know what you think. It's a great device. Apple have added those extra features that just think, yes, I want that device. They always add just enough to think, yes, I want that device, I'm missing out, so I need to go and get it. This potentially is the first device that I might not keep. I might just stick with my iPhone 13 Pro Max. It does me great. The only one thing I wish it did have was the always on display or the better battery option. The battery seems to be far better on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But let me know what your thoughts are. It's always great to hear from you. So make sure to leave your comment down below underneath that like button, and I will get back to you very soon. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. If you want to watch more content from Ricky's Tech Talk, make sure to check out my two latest videos here on the left hand side. And if you haven't already, make sure you click my face to subscribe today.